You're listening to
Don't Take This Personally,
a
podcast about the business of creativity.
We are your hosts, wedding photographers, entrepreneurs, and friends, Cami Oliveria.
And Gabe Conover. Now let's get into it.
Let's get into it. And don't take it personally, whatever we're about to say.
Yes.
Don't. Do not take this personally. Wow, we are old. How old are we? Welcome to episode 30.
I almost knocked over all the water.
Yeah, no. Episode 30. We are here. That feels like a milestone, doesn't it?
That does feel like a milestone.
Let's do something special, maybe.
Oh my gosh. Like have a guest?
Like have a guest. Ooh, little foreshadowing. Okay, before we dive into what we're doing today, review corner.
Yes.
Okay, are you ready?
Yep.
This review is from Nikki Ann. And again, it freaking cuts off the opening, but came for the advice, stayed for ... What did you stay for? It's killing me. I don't know. Came for the advice, stayed for the ... Thanks, Nikki Ann. Give me a little DM and tell me, what did you stay for?
Our hot bods.
Our hot bods. That must be it. Okay. Cami and Gabe are so awesome. Yeah, they are.
We are.
Even if they're going to make me get on TikTok, God forbid.
Sorry.
Their hot takes truly make you think. Ooh. Their insight is invaluable. Ooh. And their humor makes you feel like you're just hanging out with friends. Oh.
True.
As a florist/planner, I still find every bit of info helpful and will even re-listen to episodes to soak up all the juicy and spicy goodness. Also, Cammy's demon voice cracks me up, and Gabe's Disney quotes make me happy. What a good review.
Well, that was a great review.
That was really good. That was a brand new one.
Thanks,
I wanted to read
Nikki
that.
Ann.
Thanks, Nikki Ann.
Nikki Ann.
Okay, I'm going to pass this over to Gabe. Tell us what we're doing today. Who's here?
Yes, so we have a very special, exciting guest. This is our first live guest. If you're watching,
I know this is our
here
first
she is.
live guest. Not over Zoom.
Not over Zoom. So, today we have Danielle, who is a good friend of both of us. She used to do modeling, is now in content creation. She's modeled for me a few times. I love doing shoots with her. We are just excited. We have a few different topics we're going to talk about with her, mostly along the lines of, the modeling industry, how set teams, photographers can do better, and then also just what the life of a content creator looks like on a day-to-day,
I'm excited.
weekly basis. Hello, Danielle.
And she's some eye candy. Look at her.
Oh, yeah.
She's so hot.
Hi, guys. Stop. You're making me blush right now.
I'm interested.
If you stayed for...
What are you... No! Nikki Ann, what did you stay for?
Yeah, Nikki Ann, what did you stay for?
Today I'm staying for Danielle.
There it is.
Oh my gosh, you
there it is. Awesome. So hello.
Hi.
Thanks for coming and meeting us. This is so cool.
Thank you for having me. I feel so honored that you guys wanted me to be your first in-person guest.
Yes.
And first in Cammy's new loft.
I know. If you're watching this and, on Instagram we post clips, so you'll see we're in my new home.
And it's beautiful.
My downtown loft, I'm very excited about it. If it sounds different, that's why. I'm very paranoid. We're going to have some sound issues in here because all my furniture isn't here.
We're not.
Okay.
It's all good.
Woo,
Everyone,
okay.
we sound great.
Okay. But enough about that. Will you just give us a little introduction? Tell us all about you.
My little mini bio.
Your little mini
yeah.
bio.
We'll probably have some questions.
Yeah,
some
what would be on your IMDb?
Oh my god. All right. Wow. The pressure. Now I have to
Apparently.
It has to be in third person.
I know. Were those the right acronyms? IMDb.
Yeah, that's it.
Tell me.
Yeah.
Give me your IMDb bio. Go.
Okay. Well, I feel uncomfy making it be from third person.
Okay. No.
No.
Oh, in first person.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
We would be uncomfy too.
Oh my god. All right. So I started modeling when I was 14 years old, out of my hometown of Redding, California, which if you guys are unfamiliar with Redding, California, it's 10 hours from San Diego, basically right below the Oregon border.
Crazy.
That was always my stopping point when I would
course.
do the Seattle to San Diego road trip.
Oh yeah, it's a good stop. There's an In-N-Out, there's Dutch Bros. It's a good stopping point.
Yep. And that's about it.
Exactly. That's literally, that is the town. And that's why I left immediately.
She just described the whole town.
Truly. A little bit of drugs involved in that town.
It sounds like a forest town.
It is.
It is.
It is? Okay. I'm like Reading, Redwoods, yeah. That
Exactly.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So at 14, this like talent scouting event called Pro Scout came through like apparently all the small towns in California. And that's how I like kind of got started with modeling. Me and my friends all thought it would kind of be a joke. So we just went and we were like,
Joke.
How all great things start. A joke when you're as hot as her, though. Oh, ha ha ha, funny.
Well, we thought it was like a scam,
Yeah.
Really?
In my head, we were just kind of
small town.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why would anything be coming through Reading? This has to be
It
a scam.
is weird.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
No.
Okay.
And so this event, apparently, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but this is what they told us, like at the event, that this is how JoJo, you guys remember JoJo?
Sure do.
That's how JoJo got found.
I also was at a Pro Scout event, so I'm like, you're saying, and I think we're like the exact same age, so you're like saying these stories. I was like, I heard the same spiel and went to the same thing in Seattle.
No
amazing.
way.
See, so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do.
But I don't.
Okay, sorry.
You would have been all over it.
I didn't go to Pro Scout.
I know, he's upset. He's like, why didn't they come here?
I'm not tall enough.
Oh,
that's okay. Okay, continue.
Okay, so me and my friends from high school, I was 14, so freshman, we all went, and I feel this is like sounds so. I was like the only one that got a call back.
Yeah,
and I felt
you did.
So bad because all my friends are gorgeous as well. But again, it's like the height thing. Like you know what I mean. It just was like the perfect storm.
And you have a look. I'm sure that people were looking for too. Like redhead is not easy to find.
Totally. So they gave me the call back, and like the next event was in San Jose. So I went to that, and then that's how I found my first agency, which was JE Model out of San Francisco, because San Francisco is the closest big city to Reading that had like a modeling industry at all.
Interesting.
Because Sacramento has a little bit, and I had an agency there as well, but it's like way not like as.
Yeah, it's not San Francisco.
It's
Exactly.
Sacramento.
Yeah, it's Sacramento. Enough said.
Yes. So I was modeling out of Reading. My mom would have to drive me like 4 hours to San Francisco for castings, shoots, auditions. Pam Perry deserves all the awards.
Pam. Ugh, I see you talking about Pam all the time.
You both would love Pam.
I already do.
Yeah. She's an angel.
Pam.
So she was Mother of the Year, Mother of the Decade, shuttled me back and forth all the time. And then as soon as I turned 18, I like was going to move to New York to do modeling there. But something fell through. The agency that I was talking to there basically changed their mind last minute and was like, honestly, I don't think this is going to work out. And it all worked out for the better because then my San Francisco agency was like, you should go to LA because you're more commercial. You know, if you guys don't know what I look like, I'm very like girl next door, redhead. Not very high fashion, you know. I don't have like the crazy cheekbones or you know what I mean. I'm not super size zero. I'm very more like the Target commercial or Walmart. You know what I mean?
I want to pause your story though. When you heard like the no from New York, were you devastated?
Devastated.
Yeah.
Because that was my dream. Like my entire life. Like I'm gonna live in New York. I'm gonna live like above a restaurant. Like I had this whole vision, like a brick walls. You know what I mean? Like that was my vision for my life.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, thank God that didn't happen.
Isn't that so sick how that happens?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It all worked out for the best. Moved to LA at 18, like literally right out of high school. Got an apartment in LA, signed with Wilhelmina in LA.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
cool.
They didn't do great with me. They had quite a few other redheads, and what happens with modeling agencies when there's quite a few people who kind of look like you is they like pick the one who books the most, and then they basically just like
give everything to them.
So
interesting.
That relationship wasn't very long. They're an amazing agency, one of the best in the world, but for me, it wasn't a good partnership. I lived in LA. Met my fiance Vic while I was doing acting and modeling. I was hired to do their music video. So shortly after that,
this story, and I admittedly I know it, so I'm like,
I know, same. But it's still a great story.
It's the dream story.
It's
like,
so LA.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Like what you experienced is like everyone's dream.
I know. I was just on their music video set, and he walked in. No. But
so good.
It is. I feel very fortunate that like if we have kids, like I can be like, this is how we met.
I know,
like,
that's so
cool. They're gonna love that
cinematic.
story. They're gonna love telling their friends that story.
They
That's
really are.
So
Totally.
Yeah.
So basically, I met Vic like the first year I was in LA.
Wow.
And so we did long distance. I was still working out of LA, acting and modeling. And then I moved down to San Diego in 2016, and now we're here.
Yeah.
And then, career kind of transitioned in 2014 into social media because social media became, the bigger player in the media world.
Totally.
Yes.
So 2014 is when that transition started.
Yes.
And then did it happen pretty quickly for you? Like, did you, I guess my question is like, had you been growing a following through your modeling, and then it just kind of like, when the industry transitioned that direction, it just kind of naturally happened? Did you chase after it? What kind of went down there?
You just hit the nail on the head. It kind of happened naturally because I had been shooting with so many different photographers over the years, and Instagram came around in 2011, I think, 2012.
Yeah.
And so over those years, I had just, from working with different people who had followings and creating a following myself from modeling, from acting, I had a little bit, and then like 2014 hit, and also dating Vic, my fiance is in a band, so he had a following. It was just like the perfect storm of everything coming together.
Cool.
And then it took a while to like make it my full-time gig. I mean, I still do modeling now, but you know what I mean. So like in 2014, I started getting like my first brand offers.
Awesome.
And it was a little slow, but like $100 here, $100 there.
And it's new and strange.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
you were like, what is this?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Totally,
sure.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And then when it started happening, did you like, I don't know, how long did it take you to start like really enjoying it and like thinking, oh, I could actually make a career out of this?
Yeah, like, did it feel like it could be a job?
Yeah,
at first?
that's a better way to ask that question.
In the beginning, no. I was kind of just like, oh, this is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
extra money, cool, great.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
$100 for a pose?
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
And then I think it was probably like 2017 when it started getting like, me noticing that bloggers and YouTubers and all these people full on had like careers because of it.
Interesting.
So that kind of helped. I was like, oh, this can be a long-term thing.
Yep.
This isn't just like a side hustle. And so
Totally.
then I think it was 2017, that's when it kind of shifted and I started being way more serious. I started hiring photographers instead of just shooting it on my iPhone, using
Got it.
props, like all that kind of stuff.
Got it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So 2017 is when it really like, you took it more seriously, I guess.
I think so. I'm pretty sure timeline wise. I think that's about when it was like, okay, this is happening.
Okay, cool. And then the last 3 or 4 years, have you been like happy with where it's gotten you and like what has come from it? Like, have you really enjoyed it?
Oh my God. It's funny because I circling back to like me wanting to move to New York, like I thought modeling was my end all be all.
Right.
Like I loved it. It was so creative. It was so much fun. And this is just like that, but even more so me being able to be creative because I'm the creative director. I do the hair, I do the makeup, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like I'm putting on all these hats creatively and it just fulfills me so much. Like I still love modeling. It's just like the content creation again is like more for me. I'm able to be more creative.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, of course. 'Cause, modeling, it's like you're there to do one job,
Right.
and it kind of has to match.
You're like the creative director for these too. That's so sick.
That's a good way to put it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Cool. Well, I have some questions about
Yeah.
this. Let's start diving into
Yeah.
content creation and stuff, because I think it's just an industry that a lot of people just do not understand, and I'm sure you'll agree with me when I say that, but mostly from a perspective of like, okay, well, what they see you doing is the posting, and so like it's obviously way more than that. And I've done a couple like little deals with different brands and stuff like that, so I have like a minor taste of like what it is. So I'm just like imagining, I'm like, oh my God, like if I made this like a full-time job, like if I ever wanted to do something like that, there's just so much more on the back end that goes on. So can you just kind of take us through like what your typical day looks like, your typical week?
Give us a peek of like a week in your like a week in the life of you work wise.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This week is actually a great example because this is like the busiest week I have in October, so it worked out perfectly.
Yay!
Okay, so first thing I do when I wake up. I'm just kidding.
I was like, walk us through your date night.
Well, I wake up.
And you're cuddling in bed with Vic.
Yeah, right.
Paint me a picture. What does he smell like in the morning?
Oh my God. Tammy!
What does he smell like?
We need descriptive
Yes.
adjectives.
Yes.
So first things first, I like check my emails because I work with a social media agency who really helps me. Like I say agency because they are an agency, but I have like a person who's like my manager, you know?
Okay, cool.
And so I check my emails, make sure I don't have anything, or if I do have anything, I respond. A lot of my emails entail things like pitches from brands who reached out to my social media agency. And since it's an agency, they have like a whole roster of girls. It's very similar to a modeling agency.
Okay.
So they'll just send out whoever fits the bill for what this campaign is for.
Cool.
And so I'll check to see that, and then those emails kind of have, you know, the rate, the deliverables, which means like one post or two posts or an Instagram story or a YouTube video. It kind of details like what content,
like what you're expected to produce for them.
Totally. And then kind of like an overview of the campaign, which will be like, oh, it's for a paint company, and so they want you to redecorate a room, you know, so you just kind of get an overview of what you're gonna possibly be doing. And then for me, when I get those emails, I like to kind of look at the brand and Google them and make sure that they are aligned with my views and they haven't done anything problematic in the past, and make sure that
smart.
It's exactly.
So smart. That's really smart. Wow.
And a lot of the time with this, I feel very lucky because the agency does send me things that I already know and use and love.
Right.
And that's kind of another thing is like if it's just a random hair care brand, I will probably turn it down because I need to know that I love it and you will use it and recommend it.
Yeah.
So how long have you worked with this agency?
I signed with them in 2018.
So they know you pretty well at this point too. So, because I'm sure that like based off of their knowledge of you, they know what brands to send your way also because of that.
Totally.
Okay, cool.
And luckily, like a lot of the brands that do want to work with me are very like the same energy. You know, like we align well.
Yes.
Typically.
Yes. Typically.
Yes. So when I respond to those emails, that's kind of like the first half of my day is just kind of getting like admin work out of the way.
Yeah.
And then if I do have a campaign, I usually work with like photographer friends. Like I have a friend named Ariel who's an amazing photographer here in San Diego.
Totally.
Carmen, who's an amazing photographer here in San Diego.
Totally.
Selena Kenyon, another amazing photographer here in San Diego. And they have worked with other content creators, so they know like the quick turnaround time that a lot of these brands kind of expect. So I typically I'll schedule a shoot and then it'll honestly like we just shoot for about an hour because it's so quick and the client wants something so specific that it's really easy to just knock it out.
Totally.
I used to shoot for a blogger and it was so easy. It would be like, it would take like 20 minutes sometimes. And I'm like, I know the 5 shots you need. I'll have them to you in 2 hours.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
You get it.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's quick and easy and fun.
Exactly. It is fun.
Yeah.
And so that would be the other half of my day is the shoot. And then I come home and then it's more admin work to see if anybody else responded or if there was another addition to the emails. And then it's the fun time of posting on social media and interacting with everybody. That's another huge part of my job.
How much time do you spend doing that on a daily basis?
Oh, more than I should.
Well, okay, how much time?
Like hours probably,
Yes.
huh? Yeah.
Would you think it is more than you should, or do you think it is still like adding value to like what, like how much are you purposefully engaging, purposefully like doing work, not just like scrolling for your own pleasure, you know, like what work-wise, I guess.
So it's a little different right now because I've kind of like wanted to set some boundaries with social media.
Great.
So the last like few months I've been a little less on there reacting to people, or I mean not reacting, engaging with people.
Right.
But I'd say before it was probably like 3 hours a day with like responding to stories, responding to comments.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Totally.
And now I've kind of limited it to just comments because my DMs were getting a little
How
intense.
the hell is anyone supposed to keep up with DMs?
I don't know. I don't know. I tried. It was hard. It was impossible. It was just like never ending, especially because like once you do respond, a lot of people know that, and so like you build a relationship with them, and it's like this, you know, it's like a friend, and so it's hard.
Oh,
it's hard. You
It's
know,
really hard.
It is hard because there's like, where do you draw the line? And you also don't want to make them feel like you don't care about them.
exactly. So
that's good.
that's been like the last few months. I've just been trying to set those boundaries. I'm like,
cool.
So smart.
I need to use less of my time. Like I have to focus on me right now.
Right.
You know.
Right. So, question. I want to back up a little bit.
Yeah.
When it comes to you, like setting up these shoots, for example, bringing photographers on and stuff like that, do you quote them for that?
Yes.
price, and then so you'll be like, hey, photographer's going to cost me this much. If you want me to get, you know, this certain backdrop to make it look cool or whatever, it's going to cost this much. And you go, so there's an added fee of this. Is that how you do it? Like, what's the process there?
So actually, I just take it out of my cut because I'm just like, whatever. Usually the budget, if I typically hire a photographer only if the budget I feel
allows.
Comfortable. Exactly.
Okay.
So I take that all out of my cut, and luckily, again, these photographers, I think you guys all realize that, you know, so
Totally.
they're pretty flexible, and like they're like, whatever the budget is, like let's work around it and figure out what the best cost is.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
Cool. So
That's
so
nice.
mostly what it is, it's like you have your rate.
Yep.
And then you just, depending on, I guess, do you have your own rate and then it always matches what your client offers, or do they sometimes say, hey, like this is our budget, and then it's higher than your rate, so you're like, that's fine, like yes, I'll do it for that much. Like, what do you know what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say? What is it like there? Do you try to stick to your normal rate, or do you kind of fluctuate because different projects are different? Like,
Yes,
you know,
100%.
projects take more time.
And
So
that is exactly it. It really varies. It also depends on exclusivity. Like if they want me to only post about this one hair care brand for a month, they have to pay me for that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay.
So
wow.
you've got all those
wow,
rates figured out.
interesting.
And then did this agency help you figure those rates out?
Yes.
Okay. So
Great.
before then, did you have any idea how to price this type of stuff?
Not really. I had, like you mentioned, like just like a flat rate, and that was
Uh-huh.
kind of like and I was very flexible because, you know, this was still, I wasn't represented, so I was like,
Totally.
I just want to get what I can from the, you know,
so
these collaborations.
interesting.
Yeah.
And then do they take a percentage, or do you pay them?
They take 20%.
Awesome.
Yes,
Okay.
which is good because every time I've been signed with a modeling agency, that was also 20%. So it's very familiar to me, that percentage, and it's worth it because they're getting me clients
Yeah.
that I.
It's worth it for both of you to work hard.
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's.
Wow, that's
I love
so interesting. And so are budgets ever so low that you were like, oh, I can't do that? Or do you not even see them because your agency takes care of you in that way?
So they send them to me. If it's like a lower offer, they'll still send it. And if it's a brand that I truly believe in, then I will still do it.
Cool.
Because I'm like, I understand, like you're up and coming.
And especially if it's like non-exclusive,
Totally.
like why not?
Totally.
Yeah.
But I will turn down things if it sounds like the scope of work is just ridiculous. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's going to be a no for me.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So interesting.
So another thing that I've talked to you about, I think before, and also with Alicia,
Yeah.
is you also, you know, you don't want your social media presence to be advertisements.
No.
Just advertisements. So like, what is your, you know, happy medium of like how much posts you do, like personal, because the personal stuff also is necessary.
Yes.
Because that's what people care more about.
Totally.
So what is your like happy medium? How many, you know, different paid posts do you allow a week, a month, blah, blah, blah?
Oh, yeah.
You know, so
Like, what's a good ratio?
What's your ratio?
So for me, I think like the perfect sweet spot when I'm super busy is 2 sponsored posts a week. And luckily a lot of brands are flexible and they'll be like, okay, yeah, we'll move the other one to next week. You know?
Great.
So that's kind of my sweet spot. Sometimes it doesn't end up working out like that. And
Of
I
course.
feel ridiculous because again, it's like when I follow someone, I don't want to just see ads. So I
Right.
fully get it. And I feel like the guilt when I do post
Sure.
multiple in a row. You know what I
Sure,
mean?
sure.
So I definitely try to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah.
Well, you're really good at making your followers aware that you are about to share something that's an ad. Does that cause any issues?
Like brands
Like, the brands get annoyed at that.
So they haven't actually said anything to me about
Okay.
it. But my agency did say something. They were like, we just want to know, like, are you set on doing that or are you flexible? Because they basically that. They were like, they were worried it could be off-putting.
Yeah, they
And-
want you to integrate it more naturally.
Right.
Yeah.
And-
Naturally.
Yeah.
So I just love these products, even though it's clearly an ad. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right.
But
And I think people respect
Yes.
when, like, followers now, like, really fucking respect transparency.
Yes.
And
Yes,
so
I know. That's why I was thinking.
I think it's a selling point.
I
Honestly.
agree.
Like, we all know it's an ad anyways. It will make me less annoyed if you just say so.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I did a poll actually because they wanted to know. They were like, "Do you think your followers even care?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "Let's
Interesting.
actually do a poll. Let's
I
find
like
out."
this.
And I did a poll, and over 98% were like, "I love it. Thank you." You know what I mean?
Great.
So
Yeah,
then
I
was able
almost
to
feel
take
like
that.
because people follow you and they trust you, and obviously brands keep sending deals your way because you're getting sales. So like, obviously, like, you know your followers better than anyone too, or better than them.
Yep.
The brands do. So yeah, I've always like, I watch it and I'm like, that's really nice. Like,
just a little disclaimer.
like
so
if I want to, I can skip
yeah.
through it, or if I feel like, you know, I'm interested in getting whatever this is, like I can really follow.
And I
with
think it makes people feel less lied to,
Yes.
or like tricked.
Like
I
you're
think
so
it's-
trustworthy.
Yeah,
Yes.
it makes you
She's
like
trustworthy.
credible.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's honestly like one of my goals with my platform is, as I mentioned, like I only accept deals that's like a product that I genuinely trust,
Right.
know, love. I'm not gonna like accept something that I wouldn't recommend.
Yeah.
I did in the beginning because again it was like, oh my god, I can get money from this.
Exactly.
Well, in the beginning of anything, you
Yes.
just take it all.
Totally.
For any of us, like
Totally.
we all go that way.
Yeah.
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 And then
Totally.
it takes the lessons of being like, oh no, I don't want to promote a skinny tea. This is
Yeah.
absolutely against my values.
Yeah, I've tried those skinny teas.
Yep.
I have. Okay, I'm really curious. How do you know? Because obviously, when you are like in an influencer position, you have to show your personal life.
Yes.
Like you really do. It's important. So, like, how do you know like what your own boundaries are with what you share? Like,
Great
how do you
question.
decide?
So 2020 was honestly like a huge turning point for me because we were home and when I was at the beginning of it, when I was watching people, I was relating most to the people who were showing like everything. And I was like, okay, so if I'm relating to this, clearly that's like what people are like craving right now.
Yeah.
So then I completely shifted my content because I was more, I'm only gonna post when I'm doing something kind of person, like not showing my home life at all. And then 2020 happened and it was the complete opposite. I showed everything. I showed me crying because I'm having an anxiety attack. I showed, you know, how scared I was to go to the store in the beginning. You know what I mean? And like I got such a great reaction and it was exactly how I was feeling watching other people's content that were doing the same. It was like I felt connected in a time that was so scary.
Yeah.
But then circle back to 2021, I got some weird DMs and a few weird reactions, like sharing the wedding planning process.
Yeah.
And it just really like set me off in a weird way. I was
Weird
like, this is-
reactions?
Yeah, so like when I first started sharing the wedding planning process and how I'm type A for anybody who doesn't know. Like I'm very organized, punctual. Like
She showed up 20 minutes early today.
Yeah.
The only person that, I mean, Gabe will tell me he'll be here at 11 to record, and I know that actually means like 11:15.
Yeah.
Whereas like Danielle was here 20 minutes.
I know.
Yeah, and that's-
She is the most punctual person ever. She's so good.
That's just me in a nutshell.
It's
And
amazing.
So planning a wedding has honestly been like I'm thriving. I am
Right,
thriving.
right.
Yeah.
Like organized schedule. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I was sharing all that on social because, you know, this was the beginning and I was still showing like every aspect of my life at this point. And I got like this girl who DM'd me and was basically just going in on the fact that she absolutely hated her planning experience and her like how stressful her wedding was and how dare I act like it's perfect when it's not, and you know, just kind of calling me rude, selfish,
Whoa.
unrealistic. And I was like, wait a minute, what? I just couldn't understand how someone could, I mean, everyone, obviously we all have different experiences with everything.
Of course.
But like for her to take it like that and expect me to have her same experience and then be upset that I didn't, it just really like made me feel very uncomfortable with how much I was
Yeah.
sharing online because
Shoot, I hate that for you.
yeah, it was really weird and it's so stupid because it was one DM, like
Yeah.
literally one. And it just like really unraveled my comfortability with what I was sharing online because I was like, this person is taking my joy and now interpreting it in a weird way. And it made me super uncomfortable. I was like, this is weird.
Like so has that impacted?
Yes. So now it's like, I don't know. It just completely made me want to set boundaries and show way less of my personal life, which is so unfortunate because,
Yeah.
again, I still relate to the
Right.
real and the authentic,
Yeah.
but there has to be a boundary. So now I'm trying to figure that out internally. Like, what is the line, you know?
Do you feel like the line, like it's okay for it to fluctuate because, you know, everyone's at a different time in their life all the time, and you know, like right now you're in a time where you don't want to share that much, and then maybe in a few months you'll be like, actually I'm good now, like let's continue on with like what we were doing before? Do you feel like it'll be like that, or do you think you will set like a clear boundary?
I think it'll fluctuate. I think you're on the money with that. It's hard to like, especially if you're going through something like super personal or super interesting. It's like, it's a spectrum.
Yeah, no doubt.
So interesting.
Gosh, yeah, that's why I'm like, every so often I get DMs from people about things, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, excuse me?
Like things that I just am like, who are you? What did I do?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't even do that much, especially now. Like I hardly post. So cool. Okay, and then so we were talking about your day.
We've all unraveled here.
Was there anything else that you were gonna add? You said the last thing you talked about, as far as like your daily stuff goes, is that you spend time engaging on social media, posting and stuff like that. Do you normally do that like at the end of your day?
It depends. It depends on when I have little pockets of time.
Okay.
Whenever I have pockets of time, I fit it in.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's in the morning if I don't have like a shoot, or if I'm not doing anything job related that day, then I'll spend the afternoon doing that. It varies.
Cool. Do you shoot most days?
No.
Okay.
It's definitely if it's a busy, like this week I have 3 shoots, but that's not the normal. It's probably 1 shoot, max 2. This week is like a butterfly. You know what I mean?
Got it. And then how do you, I have it before I ask that question. So then weekly, monthly, anything else that, I don't know, you keep track of, how am I trying to say this? So you went over your daily.
Yep.
And then pretty much is every week like that? Do you have other things that you do like on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis, yada, 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 stuff like that?
I also get invited to events sometimes.
I was just about to ask about events.
There we go.
Obviously with COVID, it's a little different.
Obviously.
So I haven't been to too many recently. But that is another big aspect of my job, is like going to PR events. That's like a dinner or like a cocktail hour. And it's just a good experience to like mingle and schmooze with the brand, so you can kind of be face to face.
Got it. So normally is it with brands you've already worked with?
A lot of times, yes.
Okay, and then sometimes is it like, oh, we're interested in working with you, come to this PR?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. And San Diego, I feel like we're lucky because there's not too much of that.
Yeah.
Because it's fun, but it's also, I'm not financially beneficial, like getting benefits from that. You know what I mean? It's just for free and fun. So living in San Diego, it kind of limits the exposure to events, which is good for me.
If you were LA based, like you'd be getting invited to events every week, probably.
Every day. I feel like. Yeah.
And are you required to share that you are going to these events, talk about these events on social media and stuff like that? Are you required to do it, or do you just do it because it's good?
They want you to, but it's not required.
And if you want to work with a brand, you're probably going to do that.
So it's like it's part of the schmoozing process. Is like, okay.
Yeah, look where I'm here with blah blah blah.
Yeah. Love this thing that they did.
Yes, totally.
Okay. I'm like, okay. And then my other question was balance.
Yes.
So obviously your life is very public, and we talked a little bit about how you fluctuate between times of how much you share and stuff like that. But what about like balance in that, like you also want to just have a life outside of like what you are sharing? So what does that look like for you? How have you grown to balance it over the years? Do you like where you're at right now? Like, do you want it to change?
I like where I'm at right now.
Okay.
Like for example, I went to a bachelorette party this weekend for one of my friends, and I just shared like barely anything. So it was like, I'm not sure how comfortable she was with me sharing things. So it's like in those situations,
totally,
I don't share much.
Right.
But for the most part, like if we're doing something fun, like a trip or dinner with friends, I'll usually share like a little bit. But then if it's just like friends hanging out, for example, if one of my best friends come over and we just talk, I don't share that. So it's like it just depends on people's comfortability that you're with.
Right.
For me, at least.
Totally.
Yeah.
Do you ever take breaks?
I do. And that I didn't for a long time, but then this year, basically after that DM, it's like I've been way less active.
Awesome.
And do the brands care?
I kind of had a dip in work recently, and I'm wondering if it was because of that, because I've been way less active. But I asked my agency, and they were basically like, no, it's all around the board, like it's not just you. So
interesting.
Yeah, so apparently
not.
I don't know.
Yeah
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think people are maybe focusing on like TikTok and stuff like that? I don't know.
Definitely.
Oh, that just unlocked my brain with so many more questions I have. What is it like? What is it like to keep up with social media as it changes?
Oh my gosh, it's honestly annoying because like I mean, I'm sure you guys can relate with being a photographer. Like figuring out the algorithm or whatever's going on just with Instagram is annoying. Yeah. But then you have to do TikToks. You have to do what was that one like social media site that came out like a few years ago and whatever it was.
When everyone thought Instagram was going to go away, and overnight we all rushed to get it. So
and then it crashed.
Are you on TikTok as well?
Yes.
Okay, and so now with how brand deals are going now, are like TikToks expected to?
So it depends. So like I don't have that large of a following with TikTok. So as of right now, I'm not getting any sort of requests for TikToks. Great. But I do expect to, because like you mentioned, like TikTok's popularity is just like rising like crazy. So I think that's going to be what's going to be coming in.
Yeah. Well, I have a big-ish following on TikTok, and I get asked every single day to do different.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I deny all of them. Yeah. For money.
For money.
Well, all of them are like these random obscure brands, and I'm just like,
no.
But it is that's my only thought of what to go off of what you said about Instagram. I feel like Instagram dipped. I feel like it's picking back up again. Personally, I don't know. I could be wrong. That was a great question.
Yeah, I was just really curious. Like, I'm sure the pressure to keep up with all the changes right away is huge. I mean, it is for us too.
Right.
But my job isn't literally social media. Like, it's my top marketing platform for sure. But like, my job is not social media in the way that it is yours. So I can't imagine the pressure. Okay, my next question related to that is, as a photographer, I worry that I'm gonna like get too old to do my job. Like I'm like, oh man, I'm not gonna be cool anymore or whatever. And I wonder, like, do you have those questions where you're like, what's next for me? Or not, because you're getting all this experience essentially being a creative director. So like what that could lead you to next, I'm sure is incredible. But how do you feel about like the future of your career?
So honestly, I feel very lucky because I'm in a space where like people with families also have a huge audience. Yeah. And so like the next like 10 years for me, if social media is still around, still a thing, then I think I'm still okay. Obviously, there's boundaries with that.
But your audience will grow with you as you... Oh, cool.
And that's already happened. Honestly, like when I first started gaining an audience, 2014, I now have people who are like in college who were in middle school. And, you know, they're like, oh my God, I'm so happy that you're engaged. You know what I mean? Like they've grown with me. It's very amazing. Like that for sure
totally
is one of the best parts about this job is like those relationships, like I mentioned, that you create through your DMs and engaging. Like you meet people that are amazing. But circling back, I do worry that social media will either change or certain platforms will go away, obviously, just like MySpace. R.I.P.
R.I.P. Those were the glory days for me.
But that is a fear for me, you know, because like you mentioned, like my job is so heavily based on like these apps, and it's like I don't own these apps, so they could disappear like that.
Yep.
But I do think, like you mentioned, I have so much experience under my belt now, and
in so many areas.
Yeah, and I've ran social media for other brands, and I think social media won't ever fully go away. I think it's just going to change.
Right.
So I trust in my abilities, and I think I'll be able to like figure out whatever is thrown at me. My dad absolutely hates that is like a aspect of my job though. Like the fact that it could just like be gone.
Aww.
Yeah, it's scary. Yeah, for sure.
You know, when I was first started modeling, he was like, you have to go to college. You have to go to college. You got to go to college. Like that was like every conversation we had. He was so heavily into that. And finally, the last couple years, he is accepting my job now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk a lot about this, that like the parents' generation, I mean, he felt like he had to go to college. Yep. He dropped out. I went to college because I was just told I had to, and I finished it, but like I'm not using, you know, it's like, it's such a funny generational thing.
It is.
But yeah, your job is a legit real job. And when I spiral about what's next for me after photography, we've talked about this a lot, that like the skills we're getting running this kind of business, what this makes us qualified
my
for.
Gosh.
Priceless. It's
like I'm not just a photographer, I'm my marketing executive
business
and
owner.
my like running the business. I'm communicating.
There's so much.
We do so much. I'm creative directing. I feel like there's so many jobs I'd be qualified for after this. So, and I see that with you too, that like you are running like a real business.
Absolutely.
That's fucking cool.
I know. The freelance life is amazing in that way. I know a lot of people are scared to jump into it because it is like a roller coaster with finance and with work and all that stuff when you are freelance. But I mean, the exposure that you are like, that's not the right word.
The opportunities?
Yes, there it is.
No,
the exposure
I totally
to
know what you were
all
trying to
sorts
say.
of skills.
Yes, that's it. That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah, no, exposure. I was right
and
there with
just
you.
opportunity and exposure in like a different way too, in like a networking way. Like I always think about too, like with weddings, like we're meeting, a couple hundred people, new people every single weekend, and we're experiencing new people every weekend, and like the opportunities that can just come from who knows, like who we're gonna meet on these like crazy wedding days. And for us specifically, like we are at a high price point where we're at, but the people that can afford us are like much wealthier than we are.
And they're
so
connected.
and they're connected. And I always think about that too, where I'm like, I'm like privileged to enter into this like new class every single weekend. I guess is that a good way to say it?
Yeah.
Like a class that I'm not in, a new network. And who knows what could come from that? Just
so
outside
nice
of just
to
photography
people.
in general.
Yeah.
Anything could come from that.
Yeah.
Totally.
So
be nice and friendly and don't be dicks to guests at weddings.
Exactly. Bottom line.
Schmooze them.
Schmooze people.
Schmooze.
Schmooze.
All right. Any other questions about content creation?
No, I feel satisfied.
I do too.
Great.
You've left us satisfied
with that, but we have other questions too about
tons of questions.
But before we move on then from the content creation, can you just leave this topic with like if someone really wants to get into content creation, like what's a good first step?
So
and do you need a lot of followers?
No.
Like do you think do we need as many followers as we think we need to do this kind of work? 2-part question, go.
Absolutely not. You can start let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
My best advice is to just start and be consistent. When I used to run social media for different brands, and my biggest thing with them was post consistently. Like for a brand or a company, I'd say 3 times a week. But if you're a personal person account, trying to be like a blogger, Instagrammer, whatever it is, I just every day, like post every day,
like in stories
on your feed. Just consistency is key, and engage. Like I mentioned, that's super important because building your audience and building a audience that is like engaged with you in your life is so important because brands are looking at that engagement and that's what makes the deal.
Yep. So start there.
Yep.
Start there. And then when you want to start trying to get brand deals, do you just start reaching out to brands? Do you try to get connected to an agency? What's a good first step there once you feel like you've been consistent for a while? Yeah,
definitely reach out to brands. So when you go to their website, a lot of the times you can like find a little contact us.
Yes.
And so you find out an email from that little contact us thing, and then you make like the subject be social media collaboration inquiry, and then you just write your whole spiel about who you are, how much you love their brand, how you think it would be a great partnership, and how maybe an idea of the content you want to create for them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep. Love that. Okay, cool.
Wait, what was the second part of that?
So I was just about to say, second question is, I feel like people think they don't have enough followers.
So there is a whole term called a micro influencer, where you can be in the below the 10K range, and you're still gonna make great money on these collaborations. So there's no certain amount that you have to have. Just start, build, and be consistent.
Yeah. Love that.
When it comes to finding like an agency or something, like where should people start looking for that?
So I would definitely check out people that you follow who have maybe talked about their management. And sometimes, like if you go to a person who has like a crap ton of followers, they'll have their management's email, because when people reach out, it's like, oh, send collab information to this email. And then a lot of times the website that management is paired with is in that email, so you can go to their site and see who else they represent.
So just start paying attention to those things. And I think once you start paying attention, you'll start to notice.
Totally.
Yeah, because now that you say that, something I've never noticed, but I'm like, oh, I do see that like brand name in that email on people. So yeah, there you go. They're the companies.
Yep. And pay attention to who they represent. Make sure that it's people like you, and that if you're trying to be like a lifestyle mommy blogger and they only represent like makeup artists, YouTuber girls, like maybe that's not the agency for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Love it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, moving on to topic number 2 we wanted to talk about, and we're going to kind of go back to your modeling days,
Yeah.
and we know you do it a little bit now too. But I personally have been working with models a bit more recently, and just getting more into like the fashion world and stuff like that. And so I've learned a lot just in my handful of experiences. And I'm a very communicative person. I'm a very like, I go into new situations and I really like to make sure that people know that I'm new and that I want to learn and that I want to like really make sure that I'm doing a good job making everyone feel comfortable. But obviously that's not always the case when it comes to photographers, set teams. I know that people listening have probably heard stories of, you know, just how inappropriate those situations can be. And so if you are willing, we would love to just, I guess, know a little bit about your experience as a model, the things that you loved, the things that made you uncomfortable, the things that you think people should change, or like, I guess honestly, like it'd be good to talk about advice for people who do want to get into modeling, and how to handle those situations that are uncomfortable, because they're going to happen to you no matter who you are. And then secondly, to just like to the people that work with models, like how can we as photographers, we as creative directors, set managers, whatever it is, do better to make models feel more comfortable in those environments.
Totally.
So yeah, I guess, like, do you have any experiences that you can share with us that would just be a good starting point?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I've been modeling for 15 years once 2022 hits, which
Wow.
is crazy,
Awesome.
like to think about. And I feel very fortunate because I've only had a very small number of bad experiences.
Amazing.
Like very small.
Okay. And when you say bad, you're like bad. Like there still were some not so great ones that could have done better. Like
Of
there's
course.
still so much growth to go on.
Absolutely.
It's just, okay.
So do you want like the worst of the worst first?
Sure.
Yeah, I sure do.
Why not?
I
All right.
sure do.
Okay. So the worst day on set I've ever had was for a very big company, and I will
Okay.
share the name after the podcast ends because I don't
Uh-huh.
want some
Yeah.
Of course not.
no legal action taken against me.
Yeah.
But this very large company, it was a commercial, so acting versus modeling, and I was like an extra. It was like a yoga setting.
Okay.
So just imagine some products that are involved with working out and those kind of things. So yoga setting, I'm just an extra. I'm like literally nobody, you know.
Yeah.
You're just like in the background, it's fine. And there was this creative director who's like the head creative director for that company. And I was warned before going to this shoot,
Oh no.
hey, be careful, this girl's kind of intense, kind of a jerk. Just be aware and be basically like quiet like a mouse, you
Okay.
know? Which also, red flag.
Red flag for
Immediately,
sure.
yeah.
And now I know that. I would have turned that down if I knew what I
But
knew
it was
now.
at the beginning of your career, so yeah,
Yep.
you say, yeah.
Yep. So I get there, everything's fine, everybody's great, makeup artist, there's a manicurist on set, everybody's good, we're vibing, it's great. We're like about to shoot, and the main girl, because, you know, again, I'm an extra, so there's a main talent, and she was getting her nails manicured, and then we were gonna go shoot. So we go out to go shoot, and the creative director freaks out about this girl's nails.
Okay.
Like something that obscure, you know what I mean? And comes in and starts yelling at the manicurist about like fixing something. Like yelling, not even nicely, just like rudely.
Okay.
Yelling at this poor woman. And so she fixes it, and then we go back out and we're ready to shoot, and the girl freaks out again. She comes back and she's like, you did not fix this. Like, this is ridiculous. This is unacceptable. Like, screaming at this girl. And I chime in, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I actually watched her. She did fix it. Like, she did exactly what you asked. I watched her do it. And she was like, who are you? And I was like,
That was coming.
in my head, I'm like, you hired me, bitch. You picked me. Like, you are the creative director. You know who I am. And I was like, I'm Danielle. And she's like, yeah, you can get off my set. And I was like, cool. I was like, okay. And just left, and then bawled in my car because I was like 19 years old and was like devastated.
Oh.
But I'm like, I'm very proud of myself for standing
No,
up for
that
that
is
girl.
amazing, Danielle. No,
yeah.
I'm proud of you too. That's
You can
that's
get
rough.
off my set.
I'm like, okay. And then as soon as I get in the car, I call my agency and I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I messed up. Like, I don't know what to do. And they were like, no, it's okay. It's okay. You're still going to get paid because, like, legally they have to because you signed the contract. Like, you're good.
Great.
I was like, okay, great. And then I, like, did a few more jobs after that and, like, talked to people about that experience. And so many people were like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, she's a bitch. Like, everybody knew.
Wow.
You know?
Don't be that person.
Don't be that person, and don't be afraid to stand up for people on set. That's something that I pulled away from that. I was like, if everybody would have ganged, like if we all would have stood up to her.
Yeah, seriously.
You know what I mean?
I had that thought too, just as you were saying that. I'm like, I know we've all seen movies where like this literally happens, right? And shows where this happens, and I'm like, is this just like a thing? Like, are the people that are in charge just terrible?
Generally, no. That was the one experience like
good.
that, and I was like, literally taken aback. I was just
Wow.
couldn't believe the audacity of this girl.
The audacity! I just love that word.
Later,
the audacity!
The audacity. Later,
my
I found
favorite
out
thing to say.
she's married. Later I found out that creative director is married to the owner of the company's
Oh,
son.
of course.
I was like, that makes sense.
That makes
no wonder
sense.
she's on a power trip.
Yeah, like untouchable.
Yep.
She is.
So she won't get fired no matter what. So she is just raining her fire of hell on everyone. You know what I mean?
That.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, cool. Well, so going back to
I know.
stories.
The audacity.
The audacity. So let's talk specifically about, I guess let's talk to photographers for a minute. So a lot of our listeners are wedding photographers, wedding creatives too, but we are just expanding our reach. And so we really want to talk about, I guess, like, talk about how photographers and different people that come into these sets can create an environment that is much easier for a model like yourself to be a part of. What are things they can do? Little things, big things, things that just like automatically turn you off to the situation.
Yeah, what's it like to work with photographers? What do they do well, and what have you seen that?
Because I feel like photographers have the potential to be the creepiest of all of them.
I was gonna say I like the old like the old stereotype of like the you know like people are always like, oh, you're a wedding photographer, like old timey wedding photographer, like going under the table. You know?
My god! Yeah.
Oh my god!
That's like the old timey photographer stereotype. We are creeps. There's no doubt about it.
It's easy. It's like we literally have the tools to be creeps in the palms of our hands.
Right.
So, yeah.
So for me, the biggest thing that like, I didn't mention this earlier, but me and my friend Alicia, we did model workshops across the country. And one of the things that we tell our models is leave everything at the door. Like you could have the worst day of your life before showing up on set, and you're gonna leave that at the door. Now it's a whole new day. You're at this experience. Like leave that drama, the bad day, anything that's happening at the door. So I highly suggest that for photographers too, because if you bring in that negative energy, I as a model am gonna feel it, and it's awkward. It's freaking awkward. If you're tense, you're weird. Like I feel that, and then I feel weird, and you're making everyone uncomfortable.
I mean, wedding photographers, not even just working with models, that's a huge piece of advice. Like, whatever personal shit you're going through doesn't matter. You show up to a shoot, it doesn't matter. You leave it in the car. I always say leave it in the car. I like have my moment where I like, if I'm having a bad day, I just like sing, scream, cry in the car. And then I walk out of my car and I'm the Cammy that they expect.
Love that.
Yeah.
Another thing is just be friendly. Like a lot of like you guys are great because when you're shooting, you give me affirmations like, oh my god, this looks amazing, oh my god, this is great. Or if something isn't great, definitely you tell me how to fix it to make it great. You know, don't just expect the model to like know what looks good in camera, especially if your guys aren't like looking at it, you know, looking at the preview on the back of the camera.
Like even models need affirmation and encouragement, not just like non-professional models.
And direction. Like, sure, like, you know, every time I've shot you, it's way easier than shooting like someone who's not behind the camera or in front of the camera, whatever. I always get those things mixed up. It's easier, but if like the shoot that I did of you recently, like I had a specific vision in mind, I had a specific direction, and like yes, you can feel it for the most part, but you're not in my brain.
Yep.
So if I have to be able to communicate in some way, and I feel like it's easy to expect models to just do all of the work.
Yeah, don't expect that models don't need your encouragement.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
And I love when like people gas me up, like, oh my god, this is amazing. You know, it just makes it so much more fun, and you just feel like happy and smiley, and it makes you laugh, and it's just so much more natural. Like, don't be afraid to be like funny and bubbly and tell jokes.
Totally.
Appropriate jokes. No weird jokes.
Oh, I make a lot of weird jokes.
Well, I'm sure they're good. Like, you read the room. You know your audience.
Okay, I can read a room.
Yeah. Like, I've heard horror stories from some, like, photographers that I know, like, that just are a little off the wall, and they'll make off the wall comments, and then some of their people are maybe like super religious or maybe super conservative, and they're just like not into that, you know?
Yeah. We've talked in previous conversations that I feel like I can kind of get away with being a little inappropriate because I'm a woman.
Yep.
And, like, I can be kind of creepy sometimes in a way that, like, I feel like a guy can't be. Is that okay to say? Is it okay that I just said that?
I mean, but it's true.
It is true.
There's a bit of a double standard there that, like, I can kind of get away with, like, the raunchy jokes, and they're just like, oh, how precious. She's just a tiny girl, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
I see how much you lift. It's okay.
Oh, my God.
Not that tiny.
Okay, cool. And then what about when it comes to, like, interaction, like, with you? Something that I always try to be very self-conscious of is like asking permission to like move hair, to like adjust clothing, whatever it is, especially because like you said, I am a guy and like I work with female models and I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. So like stuff like that, anything along those lines.
That, I mean, you just definitely took the words out of my mouth. Like that is most important, especially because a lot of people have, things we don't know about, like trauma and stuff. So being like, can I do this? Can I touch? Like, you know, that is just so respectful and so appreciated as a model. Not just coming in and like fixing and like touching. Like that's a lot.
And does that happen often where you're just like kind of like yanked on and stuff? Like again, like our vision of the modeling world is from movies, and so like you see the ultra dramatic, and sometimes it is actually accurate. But like I like envision like people like pulling and teasing hair and like slamming makeup on girls' faces and stuff like that. Like, is that sometimes a reality?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot, like if there's a hairstylist, makeup artist, stylist on set for clothes, that for sure is what's happening. Like it's definitely, you're getting,
you just feel like a doll.
Yeah. But in that experience and then that moment, you're prepared for that because that's clearly you're hired for a job. You know what I mean? But like if it was just a wedding or a more stylized shoot, in that aspect, I feel like, again, the permission, like
it's really important to ask.
Yeah, it's just because it gets overwhelming as like a model having like all these different hands and like, you know, it's just a lot.
Well, and it's your face, it's your body, you know, like it's and someone's like adjusting things, like I can just feel it, like see it, like being really uncomfortable very easily. So just the open communication, I guess, is really important. All right. Just a couple more questions. Longest podcast episode of our life.
I know, this is our longest one, I think.
Yeah.
No, it's
You're
good.
just so interested.
I know. There were like so many different topics we wanted to go over.
I know.
Yeah.
And I almost wanted to talk to her too about planning a wedding.
Oh, I was literally just going to say we haven't even scratched
I was like,
the surface.
we can't do that.
No.
Okay. So yeah, the one more question in, I guess, regards to modeling specifically. What about like, you know, not on the actual shoot day? Like what are some things that, I guess when it comes to like contracts, permissions, like stuff like that, what are things that both photographers and models should talk about or be aware of when they're looking? Because I've heard horror stories of like, you know, photographers using images that like models didn't realize that they signed away and stuff like that. So like, let's talk about that a little bit. How can models go into these situations being more prepared and more aware of what to look for?
Totally. Definitely just be vocal about your concerns. Like have that conversation pre-shoot. So what is expected of me? What is expected of you? And what are these photos for? What is happening? Am I signing a photo release? Am I signing a contract, like you mentioned, that gives you rights to all these photos? Because clearly you have rights because you're the photographer of the images. Right. But it's like, at what degree? Like, are you going to publish a book without my permission and now you're making thousands of dollars off of my likeness? You know?
Whoa, I wouldn't have even considered stuff like that. Yeah. Interesting.
So that's something that you guys should definitely talk about if it's like a collab situation, or you're a photographer hiring a model, or a model being hired for a shoot, what is it for? Like, let's baseline, give me the rundown of what this shoot is about and what you're planning on doing with these images.
Okay.
Another thing is just to like make sure what's expected of you, like clothing wise. I've gotten into a situation once where I was unaware that they were expecting it to be like a nude situation. Literally was never discussed with me.
Oh.
I showed up and they said that and I left. I was
Good.
like, absolutely not. That was never discussed. I'm not comfortable. Goodbye.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah. So definitely talk about, like, you know, what is the concept of this shoot? What is
Right.
the wardrobe? What is the, you know, do I come hair and makeup ready? Do I bring my own clothes?
And even I have learned this in minor ways. Like I threw a workshop, and I had all these dresses picked out, and like I didn't think about like, oh, one of the models I picked was religious and wasn't comfortable wearing something that I picked out for her, and it all worked out, and we like moved things around and stuff like that. But like stuff like little things like that like I was like, oh, to me even this seems harmless, but it still is something that everyone has different values, everyone has different like things that they're comfortable with, so like laying that all out on the table
Like before
right away.
everyone gets there too.
And don't be afraid. Like if you're, you know, like you mentioned, if like you guys would have had that conversation, you would have been like, perfect, no problem. Like people
Right.
are very understanding, and they're not going to get mad at you
Totally.
if you don't want to wear something, or don't want to do this, or
Totally.
don't want to go braless or whatever. Like they
Yeah.
just say it. Don't be afraid. Like stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
stand up for yourself. And the worst thing that can happen is they say, oh, okay, well, like, we'll just find someone else then.
Yep.
And that's fine.
Totally.
And you'll be
Find someone
glad
that
they
matches
did.
you. Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly.
Do you have a problem with people like expecting you to model for free a lot? And do you do that much? Like, how do you navigate that?
So a great example, honestly, was with Carmen, all of our friend Carmen. The first time I ever met Carmen, she hit me up for a styled shoot.
Yeah.
And I only model for free if it's someone I know.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, yes, let's do it. I get the vibe. And obviously, if it's like a project, they usually have a budget anyways. But
Yeah.
I didn't know Carmen. So
Yeah.
she hit me up to do a stylized bridal shoot like back in 2016.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, yes, no problem. Here's my day rate. And she was like, okay, cool. Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. And
Love that.
so definitely, like when we did our workshops for modeling around the country, we talk about that. Like, there's nothing wrong with modeling for free and modeling for trade. But is it worth your time and your energy, and is it going to help you? Like, is it going to give you content for your social media or your portfolio or your website, whatever? And is it like people that you trust the vision? Because if it's like, it's fine to not trust the vision and not like it's not going to benefit you, but you should probably get some financial compensation because you're using your energy and your time and your skills.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
Right.
the same thought process and logic I would give a photographer
Yeah.
who was like, should I shoot for free or whatever? So it's all the same.
It's so funny too, because like so many photographers reach out to me that I've never met that they just expect me and Vic to do couple shoots.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
And they want to like use your following and your
Yes.
reach for their own reasons.
Yes. And-
But they're like, oh, free photos. Of course they'll say yes.
yeah. And me and Vic, like, we just don't really do couple shoots. Like, we've done like, you know, our engagement shoot and then
Yeah.
like one other shoot. And it's like, you know, it's just like you said, like, I don't like to cross that boundary with him. I'm like, he's got his own thing. I've got my own thing.
Right.
And luckily, all these people like appreciate that, and I'm like, but
Yeah.
we can shoot. Like, I'm down. Let's hang
Yeah.
out, you know.
Yeah.
But for him, I'm like, I just like to keep it a little separate,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Love that.
But it doesn't hurt to shoot your shot. I mean, freaking, that's how I met Carmen. That's how I met you. It's like, I love meeting creatives. So as a model, and if you're a photographer listening to this, like, don't be afraid to shoot your shot, because a lot of people
Always ask.
will want to work with you.
Yes.
Yes, totally. But also, you know, how you put yourself out there makes a big difference.
Yes.
You know, like when I reached out, it was very like, hey, like, what was it, like 3 years ago?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. 3 years ago, the first time like I reached out to Danielle, it was like very like, hey, like, let's work together. I know it will be fun. And we could both tell that like our vibe was going to match. But I mean, even I have had people reach out to like shoot Michelle and I, and the way that they reach out, I'm just like,
Oh, the audacity.
really?
The audacity.
The audacity.
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, that's how you pitch to me? Like, my God. And like the amount that I'm sure you get it is like that doesn't even scratch the surface. So it's just pretty funny. Cool. Okay. Last question is kind of marrying the two topics that we just talked about. And I guess just going off like shooting your shot, like how let's talk about like collaboration. Like when does some like, I guess from your perspective, like wanting to work with a new photographer, or from a photographer's perspective wanting to work with you, what is the best way to go about collaboration, I guess? And like, when do you say yes? Yeah, setting up a shoot. When do you say yes? When do you say no? What are all the factors that kind of go into that?
So for me, if I've never met you before, the one thing I'm really looking for is going to a public space. I will not feel comfortable going to your home. I won't feel comfortable going to like an enclosed studio, probably, without bringing someone with me, just for my own safety, your own safety, everybody. Like, let's make sure we're safe. That's like number one.
That's so smart and lovely.
Yes.
That is. She said that so quickly.
She's so smart.
Yeah,
she is
thanks,
smart.
guys.
You like think of really smart things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
15 years in this damn industry. I've heard horror stories, seen horror stories. I'm like, okay, so here's the rundown.
Yeah.
Again, setting up your boundaries about clothing, about what we're doing, so I'm not taken off guard. We're all on the same page. Another thing to talk about is like what is the timeline for photos back, because a lot of my photographer friends tell me like, oh my god, this girl won't stop hitting me up for pictures. It's been 2 days. Like, relax, honey, you know?
But people just want to be communicated with if they knew that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, if we have like, hey, this is how long it takes me to usually edit photos. Like, I'll probably have them back in 2 weeks. Like, let's talk about it then. Then it's fine.
Yeah.
But if you just shot and you're like, hey, just wanting to know photos. Hey, like, timeline. Hey, what's happening? Like, it's just annoying.
Yeah.
Leave them alone as, like, a model. That's my one recommendation. Like, chill out.
Chill out. We're working as fast as we can.
Yes. Yeah. And something that me and Gabe do when we shoot is like we pull inspiration pictures and we talk about like an overall concept. And I think that really helps get like, as a model, it really helps you get in the zone and kind of like picture what you're going to be doing and get excited and inspired.
Totally.
So that's really important, I think, is kind of having like a mood board. So
have a plan.
Yes.
Like, don't just like reach out to a model, for example, and just be like, hey, let's shoot.
No.
It's like, what does that mean, you know? So I try to like have some sort of idea before I pitch to anyone. Like, and it can be a small thing. It can be a little thing. Like, I think I sent Danielle one photo for our most recent shoot, and there was not even a person in it. It was just a chair with clothes on
Yep.
it.
Nice.
And I was like, this vibe, I don't know what I'm going to do, but this is the vibe. And she was like, sounds great.
I'm into it.
Yeah, we had it, like, you know, it gave her a little bit of something to kind of like be like, oh, this is where it's going to go. Okay, cool.
Just again, so everyone's like on the same page and we're all comfortable with what's happening. There's nothing out of left field.
Yep.
I'm trying to think what else like I recommend for people when planning a shoot. Time frames, like make sure you're not going to be there for 17 hours without your knowledge. So when's our start date? When's our start time? When's our end time? And obviously it's okay to be flexible. Like if you guys are in the zone and you're killing it, like an extra hour, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're getting paid, that's another story.
Right.
You need to make sure you're getting paid for your time.
Yes.
What else?
What are other things that you like teach in your like modeling workshops?
Basically what we're talking like
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like if that would spark, I was like, what are the things you like go over?
Yes, like this. Wardrobe, makeup,
cool.
protection. Like, do I need to bring somebody with me? And that's something else that we say, like if you're communicating with the photographer and you're not getting like the best vibes, and this goes for you guys too, like you're not getting the best vibes from this model, definitely don't be afraid to bring someone with you or ask like, hey, is it okay if I bring my boyfriend? And if they say no,
bad sign.
red flag.
Very
Red flag.
No. Could you imagine? No.
Do you plan on doing more workshops like this?
I gotta talk to Alicia, but I would love to. They're so much fun, and it's been so cool to like share the knowledge that we've both accumulated over the last decade and a half. You know, it's just so nice to be able to give this knowledge, and I'm so glad that you guys asked me to do this today because I'm able to share it even further in a digital aspect. It's freaking awesome.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, we have obviously the bulk of our listeners are photographers.
Yeah.
And I just think there's like some funny misconceptions about working with models that I was excited to talk to you about. Like, I think they just assume they'll do it for free.
Yeah.
I think they'll assume you don't need direction.
Right.
I don't know. I was really excited to talk to you about all this.
Yes. I know, seriously, so informative and so necessary for all parties to hear, and we're really stoked that you joined us today. Any closing remarks?
I was gonna say my last little question.
Okay.
Is there anything coming up that you're just really excited about?
Ooh, yeah.
So work-wise, Not particularly.
Yeah.
Life-wise.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Good.
It's been, like I mentioned, I had a dip with work recently,
Yeah.
which is fine. Freelance
happens.
life, roller coaster.
That's how it happens.
But life-wise, I got my wedding in April, so
Yay!
I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh, that's
Which
so
you
awesome.
have been thriving planning.
Yes. Type A over here.
I can't
Say it again.
cannot wait to see images.
I know. I'm so excited to see images too. It's gonna be so cool.
How was it picking your photographer? Like a no-brainer?
So yeah, my photographer that we picked, his name's Jordan, and I've known him since I was 17.
Yeah.
Like one of my
Amazing.
oldest friends.
Yeah.
So it was a no-brainer for that aspect. But I can't even imagine being a bride who doesn't know, because there's so many talented people, like so many photographers that are.
How are you supposed to make a decision?
Oh my god, I don't even know. Like, how do people find you guys? Like referral, social media?
Everything.
Okay.
Except those two primarily. Yeah,
mostly referral.
Yeah.
Referral and social media.
Yeah. And it's hard because you know, Cammie and I, for example, we get a lot of the same inquiries, and then like it's just there are so many talented people out there, and like we love those talented people too, and we want there, to us, we always talk about how there's enough work to go around, and like especially next year, like there's more weddings happening
than
than ever.
ever.
So yeah, it just comes from all over the place.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Any last remarks you want to add?
Just thank you again for having me.
Oh my gosh, yes, thank you. That was really fun.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us.
Yes.
And I hope that you all, I know that you all learned so much from Danielle and from our conversation today.
Yes.
And we will catch you next week.
Yes, happy 30th.
Wow.
It's our
Happy 30th to us.
It's also about to be my 30th birthday, so
Double whammy.
double whammy. No, I'm months away from that. I keep saying I'm like turning 30 like now. I'm like, I still have 4 months left in my 20s. Okay, bye.